He insulted you?
Yes, my lord.
Well, aren't you going to do anything about it?
He's your friend.
So?
He's a noble.
And?
He's a dwarf.
Are you insulting me back now?
No, my lord.
Stand up straight, tail off the ground.
Yes, my lord.
Now you go over to his house and challenge him to a duel to the death.
My lord?
Then it will be his honour or his life you will take. Either way, you win. He can't fight for a copper spoon.
But what if I kill him, my lord? He's your friend, isn't he?
My friends are only worth as much to me as their honour is to themselves. Insulting one of my servants, those below their own stature, only brings dishonour upon them. Anyone who insults you insults me in kind. Will you stand for that?
And so I went to Garon V, son of Garon IV's mansion, and indeed, I challenged him to a duel to the death. His family laughed. He didn't. If I ever saw a dwarf so pale before, I would have mistaken it for a marble statue. My lord had given me a longsword to fight with. Garon was using his family's heirloom greatsword. As his head came off, it was widely declared that he had never been worthy of carrying it. To my surprise, I was personally thanked by his father, Garon IV, with a face as hard as adamantine, for having removed the weakness from his bloodline. The great sword was removed of its valuable rubies and its golden tip, and was given to me as a gift to carry to my grave. It's never failed me. Neither has my honour since that day. If anyone calls me vermin again, blood must be spilt. The very crust of the earth demands it.
This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
You are taken towards a ship. It's an odd-looking vessel on the sea. Seems to be flat-bottomed, unlike a lot of the larger ships out here. Probably designed more for speed than for manoeuvrability, but that's what you would imagine thieves might use on the sea. More interested in getting away than getting away safely, perhaps. There's no insignia on the ship. Indeed, there is no name on the ship. Probably all to give anonymity to a vessel used by the Triangle, while at the same time highlighting it as slightly out of the ordinary. The thief takes you aboard, signalling as she walks up the gangplank. 5 coming aboard!
I tie my lizard up once again. As we left the tavern, I could see that it had lapped up whatever I had left for it there on the street. And now it's back in the rain, seeming none too happy about it. And I get on this ship, feeling a bit unsteady. This is the first time ever I've set foot out on the sea, or even on top of it, as we were in this case.
You are swiftly introduced to the crew. There's only 3 members of this crew, but in the safety of their own vessel, they proudly wear the silver emblem of the Triangle Guild. You recognise one of them as the other thief from the tavern before. There's a woman who is bedecked in an Asathi's worth of jewellery. And there is a man with a long beard tied in a braid at the bottom. Bald, mostly bald on top. Wearing long green robes. The woman in the jewellery jingles as she opens her arms. Welcome to our ship, the Nameless. Not just an ironic name. Most of our ships go by the Nameless. I understand you're here for business. I understand you're here to raid the citadel. So, first I should introduce myself. My name is Troyd. The lady in the jewellery you think is probably more on the human side of half-orc, but she is definitely a half-orc.
Very nice to meet you, Troyd.
Captain Troyd, I should add.
Very nice to meet you, Captain Troyd. I'm Thashoth, and this is Kadar, and Attila, and the mage in the back is... What was your name again?
Osborne, she's leaning against the mast.
Yes, Osborne. Mighty spellslinger.
I don't think I've ever seen a half-orc before. They are not very common here, are they?
No.
Strange. But I offer a small nod and greet them. I say nothing though.
The Triangle are predominantly land-based thieves, but we do have several vessels like this, more for smuggling than for raiding. They're useful for transporting goods in and out of docks and to caves and other places, other ships. But I gather you want us to sail to the citadel, where a few of you are going to drop into the water.
That is correct. We are going to drop into the water, all taken care of magically, of course. Then we will make our way into the citadel, and once we find the Great Vault, we are going to pass the flames. At least one of us is. Then we will be able to help ourselves, whatever inside, and make a speedy getaway. Of course, we're not morons. We're going to need a plan of distraction. That's where you'd come in.
Yes, because, correct me if I'm wrong here, Kadar, we are moving with the ship of our friends, yes? They will be transporting us over there, and then, yes?
That is correct, yes.
Yes, so we require the support of some of your men to join us. It is dangerous in the citadel, after all. And then perhaps your fine vessel here can supply some form of distraction, make the guards on the island there have something else to look at while we are carefully sneaking into the citadel.
Well, for the price of 18 or so gold, plus the jewels you threw in, you're not going to be getting the lives of any of my guild members. However, we will run a distraction mission for you. I think that's fair. If you have a different vessel that you can use to get to the citadel yourself, we will go in the other direction. We'll make a bit of a song and a dance, we'll sail a little too close to their shore, evade any projectiles they may hurl at us if they decide, and then we will be on our way. We'll just have to wait for a signal from you to do so. Does that seem fair?
It does, bar one small amendment. Are you sure you can't spare just one person? After all, not necessarily to aid us, but simply to gamble that maybe that one ambitious, powerful, clever thief, I start sounding very grandiose as I look around the boat, is not even remotely keen to maybe get a glance in that vault. They can take whatever they want. We just want them to give us a bit of backup, and they can have whatever they want. And if they don't make it, well, they don't make it, I suppose. But again, you are master thieves, brave, and cunning and clever. Does none of you have even the slightest interest?
Do a charisma roll.
I shall add persuasion as well.
11.
The captain doesn't seem convinced. However, the man beside her, in the green robes, does raise an eyebrow. I will accompany them, my captain. If they have a way of getting into the vault, it will be worth our while to see what's inside. You sure? I'm sure. Yes. I will accompany them. I can defend myself if they decide that they want to turn their knives on me. Very good then. I'm not going to stand in the way of a volunteer. This is Dread. He is a sorcerer.
Nice to meet you, Dread.
Nice to have you on board then. Well, I think we have places to be and things to do then. How soon can you set off? Immediately?
We're waiting for replenishment, and that won't be here for a week. We arrived early, so yes, if you intend to embark upon this mission immediately, then immediately we shall be at your side.
Indeed. Then let us get to our ship and let us get going towards the citadel.
Delightful.
As we start sort of getting ready to leave, I'm about to go, but then I turn back and I say,
Croyd, is it? Captain Croyd.
Troyd, yes?
Pardon me, Troyd. What manner of species are you?
My mother was an orc, my father was a human.
An orc and a human?
I look just utterly fascinated.
What do you call that? Human orc.
Well, humans like to call us half-orcs, as if that was not insulting.
So not half human.
Huh, exactly. No, I just consider myself human, as that is the side I prefer. It is the side that I identify with. I was always much closer to my father than my mother.
Interesting. Well, my curiosity is sated. Before we go, you didn't know of any tailor in town, do you?
Tailor? Yes, there are certainly tailors in town. There's more on board the ships. Oh, hell, I'm not too bad with a needle. It's where I got my start sailing. As I say, there aren't many members of the Triangle who can sail a boat or a ship, but I've been doing it my entire life. What do you need?
I need a new doublet. Look at this. It's all cinched and worse for wear.
It looks almost as bad as your elf.
Yes, it's horrible. Where can I get a new?
A new doublet, you say? She seems to be taking a liking to you. Well, I tell you what. If you agree to keep a secret of mine...
I fold my arms.
I want a secret from you. Tell me something that I don't know.
It's a secret?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, anything?
Anything you like. No matter how trivial it might seem, secrets are always valuable. About one of your companions, maybe?
A secret? What about them? I know that Kadar is... He can speak Slytherin, and he can work fire.
Fair enough. Well, here's a secret from me. All of these jewels I'm wearing, nothing but costume. Glass beads and baubles. No true thief wears real value on their clothing. It's all for show. Just as this ship, we have finer vessels in other harbours. But, as you were polite enough to inquire without judgment, I feel it is good to be open with each other. It is a pleasure to meet you. What did you say your name was?
The name's Attila.
Attila. Delightful. Why don't you pass me your doublet? I will go to work on it.
I look a bit surprised. But, yeah. I take off the harness that holds my greatsword, and then remove my doublet, continuing standing there without much to wear. And I hand it over, and I sit down.
She gives you a once-over. Please, you've got nothing to be shy about. I've seen all sorts.
I'm a bit tufty these days. Fur's not growing anymore.
Oh yes, I can see. It looks like something really put the flame to you.
Aye, something very big and very hot.
What happened? Did you roll into a bonfire while drunk?
I don't drink too much. Well, not these days. But, a big old... Would you believe it if I told you that a big old dragon came swooping down, offering us promises of well, our lives if we emptied the vault and found some particular item for him?
She puts the doublet down. Are you trying to tell me that this is a mission on the behalf of a dragon?
No, not at all. It's our own mission. But the dragon was requesting a particular item.
And what would that item be?
Well, now, I don't know if that's something I should be saying. Friend, Captain.
Ah, we've already shared one secret each, why not another?
Fine. Well, you tell me your secret first this time.
Oh, you want another one?
Yes.
A nice secret for you. Usually, when I bring someone who isn't a member of this crew into my personal quarters, like I brought you, it's to be a little more intimate than doing some stitching. And I've got to be honest, I've never experienced a Slytherin before.
I peek an eyebrow and say,
Well, I've never experienced a half-orc before. Or half-human, whatever you prefer.
But I'm sure your friends will be patient.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They'll have to go and fetch the other ship.
Meanwhile,
I am making my way back to the manor with Fasaf, seeming very irritable, and you hear me just say, Fasaf, have you got any of my bombs? My bombs!
Oh, yeah, right here. And I bring them out from my coat.
Good, and I'll extend, showing you my burned hand, to be like, come on, apply them. Stings, this one.
This one seems to really hurt you.
Unfortunately, I had to do a bit of bargaining that didn't quite go my way. A lot of this isn't quite going our way, is it, Fasaf? I'm starting to get very frustrated with all these irritating little people.
What do you mean? We have everything we need now. Just gotta get over there, and the treasures are ours for the taking.
We are going to need a body. I don't think Dredd is... No, he can't be the one. There'd be too much trouble. Oh, he might have to... I don't know, a guard. I don't really feel comfortable with that, but it might be our only choice, otherwise we're not getting past the flames.
I'm sure a blackjack to the back of the head on him and he goes down just like anyone. Don't worry, we'll figure it out over there.
Very well, Fasaf, come, let us return to the manor and get this going. And I take a moment to administer the balms, hoping they soothe my burned skin just a little, and make my way back to Clan Hara's sunken manor.
Yes, and we simply intend to make the preparations to leave, basically, with their ship as soon as our Slytherin companion joins us.
it doesn't take long for them to prepare the ship for you. In fact, they were already in the process of doing so when you left in the morning. And so when you arrive back, a small vessel, this isn't the kind of thing you're going to be conquering nations with, but you are looking for something somewhat surreptitious, that could either be used for long-range transport or long-term fishing, is ready for your disposal. Again, it doesn't reek of noble house. It's a little ramshackle, but it will do the job, you think.
I also make a small request for a little bit of rope. Good enough for tying around quite a few individuals. It doesn't need to be strong, but I say to Fasaf, just in case we need it, the old rope trick, yes, you know, I turn out the lights, you all follow me via the rope.
Sounds like a plan.
There is no difficulty in obtaining rope for your ship. In fact, it comes equipped with it.
Excellent. Well, I think we have what we need.
Lady Hara is on hand to wave you off. Don't damage the vessel.
Oh, I assure you, Lady Hara, I will do my very best to ensure your vessel is completely safe at all times. And I do a little flourish and a bow, and say once again, you are not going to regret this. You are making a fine investment in your future and ours.
Well, we had better be. Those maps and that information did not come cheap, and we expect our cut of whatever you procure.
The shield of poppies shall be yours.
The shield of poppies. And so, once your Slytherin companion emerges, a little worse for wear, but seeming strangely content, on the pier, he boards the ship with you, and along with Usborne, your elven mage, and also your newly acquired sorcerer from the ranks of the Triangle, you make your way out to sea, sailing across the Blossom Sea. And it is really quite a sight, especially for someone who has never sailed these waters before. The sheer volume of fish and aquatic life within these waters is visible from the deck of your ship. All you have to do is look into the water for a brief time, and there is so much milling around down there, and it really is quite a sight. And it shows also on the water's surface, as for, well, leagues around, you can see fishing vessels just stocking up on fish, on crustaceans, on stranger species you've never encountered before. It looks like, given enough time, Lodok and the other towns along this coastline could really become quite opulent with fish trade. The risk, as Usborne tells you, is what they don't know, or what most people don't realise, is outside the natural environment, the fish here rot amazingly quickly. Even magic doesn't seem to do much to preserve them. Obviously there's the old salt methods, but it dries it out something rotten. No, there's not been a mind yet that's worked out how best to keep the food from these waters fresh. Utterly mundane, utterly dull, but that's why you're not looking at a gold-lined coast in front of you.
Interesting. Must be something to do with the water, I suppose.
Maybe. All these places are supposed to be somewhere, someone, something important died during the war, and it's infested or infected everything around. Certainly, my understanding is these fish weren't milling about before the Gods' War, but such as it is. What do you know of it all, Dread? I can't say I know much. I've sailed these seas many times, but I've never had much of a taste for fish.
You see me standing at the side of the railing most of the time, really curious, looking at this and that, occasionally throwing breadcrumbs out just to see the milling of fish sort of go up hungrily and grab the bite. Very fascinated with all this, with the waves and the sea breeze constantly ruffling the tufts of fur that I have left. Now in a seemingly stitched up, I suppose, better looking jerkin or a doublet.
Yeah, in fact you can see the frayed silver stitching that would imply that at some point this doublet belonged to a member of the Triangle. But it's pretty nice, it fits.
Happy with that. Very happy.
Of course, the thing you really need to worry about on these seas, so I hear it, don't tell them. No, the thing you need to worry about are the flayed giants.
Flayed giants?
Have you not heard of them?
Do they live in the water?
Oh, they live in the water, all right. But they'll stick their head above it, and they will grab your ship, and they will drag you down, and they will eat you whole if they're nice. Otherwise they'll bite you in half and send the bits they don't like back up.
Oh. So how do you avoid them?
Well, one of the best ways is dropping an anchor square between their eyes. But that just tends to irritate them. Honestly, they are one of the greatest natural hazards around here. There aren't many, as far as I understand it. I'm no ecologist. We used to have a druid working for us in the Triangle. He was fascinated with these flayed giants until he decided to investigate one a little too closely. Apparently they mainly occupy the blood seas elsewhere. Rumour has it is their lack of skin that results in the seas being so red, but I doubt that there are that many of them to make an entire sea change colour. Either way, some of them have made their way down to the Blossom Sea and they eat hungrily on fish and crab, and so they don't really bother too much about ships up ahead unless they do something that particularly bothers them.
Well, that's why we're going to sail nice and slowly to the point we need to, and everything will be fine. Speaking of which, Dread, what exactly are your specialities, sir, if we should need to call upon your abilities?
Well, I excel in enchantment, I'll be honest. And if there are going to be guards in this citadel, then I could probably turn some heads, make some people forget that we've even been this way, that kind of thing. Turn guards to fight upon each other.
That would be good.
And what about you?
I deal in fire.
And you're all at sea.
Yes, but when we're in the citadel, it won't be such an issue, because then we'll be on land. Also, I can summon a little bit of shadow as well. I can see in the dark. All darkness, actually, I say with a bit of a smug expression.
I'm sure that will be helpful for you at the bottom of the ocean. It's quite dark down there, I am given to understand.
I look up at the billowing sails and the skies. Is it still raining?
It is, yes.
And my beast, were we able to bring it on board to die on deck?
In fact, your lizard seems to be pretty damn happy with this entire thing. Because of the way the ship is flat-bottomed, you're actually quite close to the water at all times. And so your lizard is hanging precariously from the bow and occasionally lashing down with its tongue or its claw, mostly unsuccessfully, to grab a fish. Sometimes it does actually manage to do it, just because of the sheer volume of aquatic species swimming around down there. It grabs one, backs up onto the boat, gobbles it down, and then goes back for seconds.
I smile, looking at that as I'm listening to the conversation of the two magic users, one with fire and one with enchantments, and then I suppose we have one who is specialty is shipcraft, water and all that. Is she working anything as we're traveling?
No, she's just holding her head.
Is she drunk now as well, or what's she doing?
If she's still drunk, then she's taken something particularly potent. But she's just sat there. She's not talking to you.
And she's old and scarred, you said?
Yeah, and her hair looks mostly burned away recently.
I go over to her.
So, were you in the wars?
She keeps her head in her hands. Like I said to your friends, my ship, the Dolly, went down very recently. I say my ship, our ship. She was a fine vessel. A fine body of men and women serving on board. Not many of us made it off.
Were you hit by fire? What happened?
Hit by pirates. Pirates of all things.
So flaming arrows then?
Flaming arrows, I think they were launching balls of, well, probably just rope and twine and just set ablaze, but when it hits a ship, it can do quite a lot of damage. I think the worst of it was what our new friend Dread was talking about. These flayed giants. You see, we could have withstood the pirates, no doubt about that. I mean, I took a great big bundle of fire to the side of the head. That wasn't much fun. But we could have dealt with them. We've been on the sea many times. But these flayed giants, they take notice of noise, of activity. They want to see what's going on. They're very dim-witted. They're just curious, I guess, and maybe in their curiosity that's what makes them reach up and grab ships and sailors.
So they're like, what, bigger than a ship?
the one that grabbed our ship was. I have never seen a hand bigger than your average elf. But these hands were big enough to wrap around the hull of the ship, pull it down. I think even the pirates were startled. They didn't know whether to help us, loot us, sail away at the speed, the fastest speed they could. And I guess they didn't have much time to think about it, because it wasn't long before they went down as well. I mean, all credit to them. So they were helping some of us aboard. I think when it comes down to it, when it comes to clashes between pirates, sailors, humans, elves, orcs, and so on, that all pales into insignificance when you're being attacked by a giant under the water.
So, what we need to do is just not make too much noise then, is that what you do?
Yes, I would definitely recommend not starting up the band while we're on board. My head couldn't take it anyway. They're Titan spawn, you know. These flayed giants. Spawn of Kadum.
Oh, Kadum.
Or Kadum, I don't know, I'm no expert.
As they're having their conversation, I've gone to Vilhaim, and I just mutter under my breath. Of course, the only problem is that we're not entirely sure of the layout of the citadel itself. That's going to be a slight bit of a tricky obstacle, don't you think?
Perhaps, but as long as we get in. I have found myself in situations where I've been sneaking about places whose layout I do not fully know. I can scout on ahead, and I can see what I can find, and I can see what I can find. Hopefully, I can guide you safely to where we need to go.
Good, Vilhaim. You're going to need to pull your weight on this one. I am willing to admit, though, and I give Dredd a bit of a look, I'm willing to admit that of all the situations to be in, this is probably the least useful situation for fire. I'll give him that. But hopefully you two will even the odds.
I'm certain we will, and I'm certain they will too.
And I go and just make sure to check those straps I also kind of got. They're pretty much just fancy looking rope creations I made myself very quickly, because I am going to need to be tied to a tiller. I say to Vilhaim, I can't swim that far. You know that.
Well, I'm sure he will be able to keep you safe.
Everything looks secure as you think it can be. And you realise that you're sailing out of sight of all of the fishing vessels. You're at that midway point somewhere between the shore and the citadel that is your destination. You're looking to the horizon. It's nearly noon at this point, so the sun is visible in the sky, but it is still pouring with rain. Luckily, the pumps on your ship are working to make sure you're not capsized, because the waters are a bit choppy. Every now and then you cast a glance down into the water, but the further away you get from land, the harder it is to see beneath the surface. Even your lizard mount has lost interest and has gone back to its half-hibernating sleep on its full stomach. Do a wisdom roll, any one of you. Volunteer, the person who has the highest wisdom.
And I roll 16, so that leaves it to 18.
In that case, you are quite able to spot something in the water. It's not immediately close to you, but it is making a beeline toward you. And you only see it because you can identify a shift in the wave patterns up ahead, and a shadow beneath the surface. It looks wide, fanned, and it's moving fast.
Having been observing the waves with great curiosity after that discussion with the elf, that is why I suddenly spot that there's something different over there, and I shout out, or I wheeze out rather.
What's that? What's that in the sea there? What's coming towards us?
And I go to look. What do we see?
It looks like a giant ray of some kind in its shape, and it's coursing towards you. You think it will probably be underneath the ship if it doesn't rear and somehow mount the ship within the next 10 seconds.
Who do we have on board now? We have Dread and we have the elf. Would you remind me her name, please?
Her name is Osborne.
Osborne. I think that she would be the one that's has the most experience at sea.
Osborne, what is that?
I shout out to the elf.
Oh, they've got... She's squinting at it as it's approaching. They got a strange name, an Ixig, and by the time she's come even close to naming it, there's a bump underneath the front end of the boat, and it goes rocking back. Each of you do a dexterity roll, please.
Can I use acrobatics?
You can.
I get 22.
Well, you're good.
23.
Also good.
16.
16, you manage to hold your footing as well. And from my dice rolls, Osborne is able to cling on to the rail, but Dread goes tumbling over backwards, and he is now clinging onto the port side of the ship, holding tightly onto the rail with one hand as he dangles with the other. And you hear him shout, "Help me!"
And you see me do a bit of a cartwheel with my tail as the it hits underneath us and the rocking starts. It's almost as if I was anticipating this, and I leap over to grab hold of the Sorcerer as he's hanging by.
Could you make a strength roll, please?
I'll arrive at him and I launch my hands at him, trying to hold on with my tail on the side as well. Let's see. I roll 10.
10. Well, let's see how he does. Okay, with Dread's assist, he isn't just dead weight, he helps pull himself up, and you're able to stabilize him. He pulls himself on board as this giant ray breaches the surface briefly, and you can see it's more open. It opens in 4 different directions. There's something unnatural, one could say demonic, about this particular underwater creature. From the surface, it looks like a giant manta ray. As soon as you can see its face, which is a blend of insectoid and even human, you can see it's something quite unnatural. Its maw is wide enough to probably devour one of you whole.
And I step back and I say,
Goran, preserve us!
and I draw my greatsword.
It lets out a shrill cry that burbles with the water that's flowing into its gullet. Each of you do a wisdom roll, please.
10.
16.
16 is fine, 10 is not.
22.
22 is also fine.
It's a natural 20. I don't know when I should say that.
Oh, if you ever get a natural 20, do announce it.
Okay.
Okay, well, in that case, with your natural 20, I'm going to say that you're able to stop your companion from marching overboard as he is lured towards the not terribly enticing to look at, but hypnotic to hear more of the manta ray.
Stop it, damn you!
And I hold him back.
But it's so shiny and pretty. Just see the jewelry on there. I gotta get it.
And you get a slap across your face with my tail.
What's going on?
In response to all this, I simply say, "Fasaf, you blubbering fool!" and look at this thing and decide I'm sure the only course of action here is to try and hurt this as much as possible. And I move forward with my rod firmly out and cast Burning Hands, shooting a 15-foot cone directly at this creature.
Excellent. And if this is unsuccessful, we will then move into initiative.
Indeed. It must pass a dexterity save or take 5d6 fire damage. Half that damage on a successful save.
Well, undoubtedly it's about to fail its save.
22 fire damage.
That's an impressive blast of flame, to the extent that although you don't kill it, I will allow you to dictate exactly how that impacts the demonic manta.
I cast my spell of flame. Suddenly, a gout of fire coming straight from my hands and through the rod itself, almost channeling directly into that twisted, human-like face. The creature itself, of course, will shortly delve back under the sea, but for now, at least, its face has been scorched with very painful fire.
As the demonic manta does indeed dip back below the surface, its face scorched and scarred, maybe even beyond repair. The sea is again quiet, just briefly.
I look around. Is it gone? And I still clutch my greatsword, and I look into the eyes of Thashath to make sure he's with us. Did he come to it? Did he come to his senses?
He has come to his senses now.
I'm here. I don't know what power that thing has, but it made me see things that aren't there. I'm fine.
That was a big creature. I look around still. Is everything calm? What's my lizard doing?
Your lizard seems very agitated by all this. It was also hypnotized by the manta ray, but wasn't able to get to the side before your erstwhile warlock companion was able to blast it in the face. Kadar very much saved the lizard in this case.
And I look over to Kadar then.
Well done. I'm glad you did that.
I lower my iron rod, the heat almost shining off it still, and put it back in its sheath, and I struggle to keep my footing after all the rocking, and I go, "Let us get out of here, quickly, now! Come on, people!"
Your fellow crew members are only too happy to oblige. Osborne finally snapping to alertness, seeming to shake off the fugue that she's been beset with for the last several hours you've known her, and Dread calming down after having nearly been devoured, also working his part of the ship. The sail is tilted and turned. You catch the breeze and you sail on, hoping that you have not woken something beneath the depths. The citadel is not too far from here, you're sure of it. Hopefully there will not be any giants reaching up to slow your journey.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we play the adventure The Great Vilhaim Heist for Scarred Lands for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Our Dungeon Master was the gentleman gamer, Matthew Dawkins, and we would like to thank him and Onyx Path Publishing for doing this actual play production together with us. The music was made by Ager Sonus and Lesa Listvi, and was used with permission from their label, Cryo Chamber. You can find more delicious dark ambient at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel. If you want to support Red Moon Roleplaying, do check out our Patreon. The show would not be possible without all the generous support we are getting there. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And remember, praise Mormo.